it was an amazing football match. And Arsenal, I think the first half from Arsenal was poor. By Arsenal standards, I don't think anybody can deny that they were off the pace. They were slow. They weren't moving the ball quickly. Too many touches. Moving the ball from side to side, which is what you're meant to do. But they weren't able to kind of break the lines. They weren't able to penetrate. And Sunderland defended amazingly well. Amazingly well. They protected their territories. They weren't being dragged out of position. They weren't being overly confident on the ball. They weren't. There's a great saying I like in sport, which is don't be careless, but don't be too careful either. And they had that really nice balance, Sunderland, and they scored their goal from a set piece. There was so much irony. The whole of the Premier League celebrated Arsenal conceding their first goal in over 800 minutes, and it just happened to be from a set piece. Funnily enough, everybody celebrating that goal suddenly didn't care about set pieces. I love the beautiful irony. And Sunderland deserved to be leading at half-time. There was that one opportunity where Saka heads the ball down and Saliba skies it when he probably should be hitting the target at the very least. But Arsenal needed to come out and react. And I think the encouraging element, and there'll be Arsenal fans, I mean, listen, there'll be some Arsenal fans tonight, the Arteta out mob, I'm sure, are absolutely buzzing right now. They've been, in fairness, we've got to give them, they have been scratching their arms like a nitty for what? 8 weeks waiting for this moment where they could moan again. So barring those guys, but look, fair play to them. They have their agendas. Crack on, do your thing. TikTok will be a fun place tonight. I might even have a little look later. But there are some positives in this from Arsenal as well. The second half response was fantastic. The way Arsenal came out and played in that second half, the way they moved the ball, the way they broke the lines. Before we even get onto the goals, Trossard, I thought was excellent. Calafiori with these runs up and down. Bukayo Saka. We had a big debate on the Football Terrace yesterday, me and Don, about what does Saka do when he isn't getting goals or assists. Now, he scored the equaliser. A mistake. I said earlier about being careless and not being too careful. And what started to happen with Sunderland, maybe a little bit of overconfidence. They started playing out from the back a little bit more, which they weren't doing. And Arsenal pressed them to death and won the ball back. Excellent finish from Bukayo Saka. I'm intrigued to see whether they give that goal as an open play goal or counter-attack. Last week, it's very reminiscent of how Chelsea scored versus Tottenham. That was considered open play. I wonder if Arsenal actually get this in the open play tally. It'd be hilarious if it goes into the counter-attack. But anyway, excellent goal by Bukayo Saka. But overall, I thought Saka had an amazing second half. He was dangerous for the entirety. He was giving his fullback and giving the defenders of Sunderland a torrid time. Just amazing. He's dribbling, his hold-up play, strength. I mean, I know it didn't go in, but a cross at the end for Calafiori, a brilliant save from the Sunderland goalkeeper. Is it Roof? Is that his name? And then the block from Ballard. I mean, match-saving block. I mean, they were a hair's breadth away from conceding the winner just after equalising from Robbie. The goal from Trossard, look, we as much as there'll be loads to talk about tonight, that has to get a mention. He was having a brilliant game. But what he was struggling to get in the match was that half a yard of space. He was struggling to get that half a yard of space. He was struggling to make that really work and happen. But when he did get it, when he was able to make it, that shot, it's a goal for the ages. The only disappointing element of that goal for him and for Arsenal fans will be it's not the match winner. So it'll be remembered as a very good goal, but goals are never the same when you don't win the game. In my personal opinion, they never kind of hit in the same way. But what a strike it was. And Arsenal got the lead and they thoroughly deserved it. And I even think Arsenal's biggest detractors, Arteta's biggest outers, would have looked at that performance up until in that second half, looked at it and gone, fantastic. Scoring from open play, multiple big shots, big chances being created, really tearing Sunderland apart. Who, by the way, for as good as Sunderland were, they only had 6 shots in the whole game, 2 on target Sunderland. Both of them went in. Or Arsenal, 17 shots, 7 on target, 4 big chances. The one big issue for Arsenal today is they did miss 3 of their big chances. The goals they scored, I'm not sure. Well, Saka's was obviously a big chance because if you don't miss a chance, you score it. And then Trossard's was a wonder strike. But they had some really big opportunities and those blocks were there and they stopped it. But Arsenal would have been, I think Arsenal should be very proud of that second half display. The issue then was what to do after going 2-1 up. And they carried on attacking. They had those counter-attacking opportunities. But you get into that last 10 minutes, and it's almost an element of that corridor of uncertainty. And I think Arsenal became a little bit too negative. It sat a little bit too deep. And in the build-up to that goal, And I'm sure Arsenal fans were dreading this moment because Xhaka was getting the ball in a lot of space and the Sunderland fans are screaming, shoot, shoot. And I think we all thought he was going to, and it probably would have been a better option because as much as he has scored some thunderbolts, long-range efforts only go in sort of 5% of the time. But what Arsenal was sort of doing is I think they were sitting too deep and they weren't putting enough pressure on the ball. And for a team that had defended its box, defended its area so fantastically well this season, especially in the last couple of months, they just sat back a little bit too much and the ball goes in. Sunderland get ahead on it. And I think Gabriel, look, there's credit in the bank here with Gabriel with how fantastic him and Arsenal's defence has been. This isn't a team that's conceding multiple goals every single game. They're not even conceding chances in most games. But he was just caught on the hop. And he had hold of Brobbey. But Brobbey showed such fantastic athleticism. And I think Gabriel maybe could have done better. Drops his head down low. But Brobbey manages to get to the ball, gets a flick on. Raya, who, by the way, Raya pulled off 2 or 3 fantastic saves in that second half as well. Let that not be forgotten. He was kind of in no man's land for the goal. It drops in. Sunderland go crazy. Arsenal's hearts are broken. But what does this result mean? You know, there were some excellent bits from Arsenal today, and there were some concerning parts. The first half would have been catnip. Would have been absolute catnip, and there would have been a lot of hasty generalisations after that first half. It would have been, see, no set pieces, they can't create. It's a bit like, you know, people that do that whole thing. I met a really rude American once, therefore I think all American people are rude. There's an element of that with Arsenal. People would have watched that first half and gone, see, no set pieces, they can't score goals. The second half, the attacking football was out of this world. But what wasn't good enough in both halves was defending the box. Now, I'm not going to go too heavy on Arsenal. Now, some will say, you've got to criticise them like you criticise everybody else. It doesn't work like that. I don't give Mo Salah as much stick as I give Anthony at Man United because one has delivered and one has been fantastic and one's been an absolute disaster. Arsenal didn't lose the game, to be fair, but there is criticism on the defending. But because they've been so strong for majority of the season, right now I'm looking at the defensive issues today as a bad day in the office rather than a systemic problem within the team. There'll be eyes on it for the next few matches. Maybe teams will look at the blueprint of Sunderland, what they did, how they played, how they harried them, where they were delivering the balls into the box, and maybe they're going to try and replicate that. But I do just think it was a bad day in the office from Arsenal from a defensive point of view, with balls being passed, long balls being hit into the box. Outside of that, the defending was fine. That's why there was only 6 shots in the whole game, and only 2 of them were on target. And it was long balls into the box that was the issue there. So I think there's some things that are for Arsenal to feel happy with when the dust settles, if you're reviewing the performance. And we know what will happen today. Today, no one will care about the performances, the good bits, the bad bits. It'll all just be crush it on Arsenal. But look, they currently still sit 6 points clear at the top. They have very slightly extended their lead as things stand. Let's wait and see for the big game tomorrow. Chelsea, of course, kicking off this evening as well, as this is being filmed and recorded. But not a good day for Arsenal. Overall, result-wise, not a good day. Many a thing to criticise, a lot of things to ponder. But my personal feeling, for what it's worth, is I don't think there's any need for Arsenal fans to be panicking. You can criticise, you can be frustrated with a game, and then wipe your mouth and move on. Some won't want to. Some will want to make this into a much bigger. There'll be a lot of kind of, what's the word I would use? It's a bit anecdotal almost. Like an isolated incident is going to get blown into something massive. It's a little bit of sampling bias in there as well. But that's just me. But well done to Sunderland. I thought you were excellent today. And some will say they value the draw. I mean, you look at the amount of shots on goal, the amount of possession, the amount of big chances. Arsenal were the better team. But we have to look at where Sunderland have come from, where they were 4 or 5 years ago, newly promoted into the Premier League. So well done to them tonight for picking up that draw, because I do think they deserved it. And Arsenal, there's a few things to go away and work on, a few things to work on whilst you're licking your wounds. But I think there was some good stuff as well. 2 goals from open play. That won't get mentioned now as well. But look, I want to get your thoughts. I want to get your opinions in the comment section below, please, people. Make sure you're liking and hyping the video too. And listen, again, I'll say it again. said this earlier on today as well. The Premier League is fantastic, and this was another amazing advert for it in every single way.